Welcome to Azure Teach.net. We are going to deploy this Angular application to Azure Storage account which has static web hosting enabled. Static web hosting is the most cost-effective way for deploying single-page applications to Azure. We are going to use Azure Build Pipelines to build the project, and we will use Azure Release Pipelines to deploy the Angular application to two stages, and these two stages are mapped to two different storage accounts. Before we start, please subscribe to Azure Teach.net channel for more videos on Azure and .NET. Here I have an Angular application. We are going to deploy this application to Azure Storage account. Every application deployment will have two steps. In the first step, we'll build the application. In the second step, we'll deploy the application. Build step means converting the application into artifacts. They can be JS files or DLLs or jar files. It will be depending on the technology that we are using for the project. And in the deployment step, we'll copy the files or we'll move the files to the server. For some of my projects, I have done manual deployments. I used to build the project locally and move the files to the servers. That understanding helped me in understanding the Azure pipelines. So let us do the similar thing. First, we'll do the deployments manually, and after that, we'll do the same using the Azure pipelines. That will give us the better understanding on Azure pipelines. If you already have understanding on the manual deployments, hover the mouse on the video progress bar. It will show you the chapters in this video. You can go to the chapter that you want. Let us start. So for any Angular project, the first thing we have to do is we have to install the packages. So for that, we'll use npm install. It will take some time, and let us come back once the installation is completed. Packages installation is completed. Now let us build this project. So here I'm writing npm run build. So this will build the Angular project by taking this command and running it. The build is completed. So the output files will be created inside the dist folder. If you see here, these are all the output files that we got after running the build. So the files are copied inside dist/the project name. Here we are done with the manual build part. Now let us do the same things inside Azure Devops Build Pipeline. Here I'm inside Azure DevOps portal and I'm going into the project that I have created, that is Azure Tutorials, and here we have pipelines. So I'm clicking on this pipelines so that we can create a build pipeline. Here I'm clicking on create pipeline, and now I'm choosing classic editor, and here we have to select our project location. If your project is there inside Azure repos itself, you can directly access it over here. But if your project is there inside any of this, you have to authorize Azure DevOps to access the project. Our project is inside GitHub, so I'm choosing GitHub, and we have to authorize Azure DevOps. So we can authorize in two ways. If you choose this authorize using OAuth, it will open a pop-up, and here you can log into your GitHub account. So it will establish connection between Azure DevOps and your GitHub account. But I want to show you the other way as well. So I'm closing this. I'm clicking on authorize with a GitHub personal access token. I'm clicking on this. So here we have to paste the access token. Here I'm inside my GitHub account. So to generate the personal access token, we have to click on the account symbol and go to the settings. And after that, we have to go to the developer settings. So we have the developer settings over here. And here we have personal access token. Click on this. And after that, we have to click on generate new token. And here I'm giving a name as Azure Demos, and here we have to choose appropriate permissions. Those will be given to this access token. So for now we can choose this one only because we are going to access the repo and do the deployments. That's it. So I am choosing the first one and clicking on generate access token. So once you click on this, it will generate this access token, and copy it. If you go back to any page and come back over here, it will not show you the token. You have to generate a new token. So you have to copy the token immediately. Now go back to our pipeline, paste the token over here, click on authorize. And now the authorization is done. And here in the repository, we have to choose the repository. So here I have this repository in which the code is available. So I'm choosing this and click on select. And the branch that we are going to deploy is Angular Azure Storage deployment. I'm selecting this, clicking on select button, clicking on continue over here. And here we are starting with empty job. So here we have the predefined templates available, but I did not find anything for the one which we are working for. So I'm choosing empty job. It will show you a screen like this, and here you can give name to your pipeline. I want to go with the default settings which are over here. And here, if you want to use a different operating system other than Windows 2019, you can choose that over here. And here we have to add the tasks which are similar to the actions that we have performed when we are building the application manually. So first we have installed npm packages. Let us do the same using Angular build tasks. So here I'm clicking on this plus symbol and searching for npm task, and I'm selecting this task and clicking on add. So if I go to this task, it has the default settings and I want to go with these default settings. If you see here we have to mention the package.json location. If your package.json is not inside the root folder of your Angular project, you have to mention it over here. And first we have done the npm install, and after that we have ran the npm build. So here I'm clicking on this plus symbol again, searching for npm task and selecting this, clicking on add. And here I'm changing the name to npm build. Here I'm changing the command to custom, and here in the command arguments I'm writing run build. This will build the project. Once the build is completed, we have to publish the artifacts. When we ran the build process manually, it created the files over here. As this is the local system, we haven't published anything over here. But when we are building the application in Azure Pipeline, we have to publish the artifacts so that the created build will be available for the release pipeline. You will understand that when we are creating the release pipeline. So here I'm clicking on the plus symbol again, and here I'm searching for publish. And here we have to choose publish build artifacts task. I'm clicking on add. And here I want to go with the default name, and here I want to change the directory. Azure Devops pipelines will have the default variables. If you click on this info symbol and click on this variables, it will open you a window where you can find all the default variables. I want to go with system.default directory. So here I'm searching for system.default working directory. So I want to use this. So I'm copying this. Why we are using this? Because when the pipeline runs and builds the project, it will be done inside system.default working directory. So here I'm replacing that. And we know that the build will be created inside the dist folder. So here we have to mention that path. So here I'm writing dist. I want to publish the artifacts to Azure Pipelines itself so that this will be available for the release pipeline. So this is all we have to do inside the build pipeline. Let us save this. Click on save, and here it will ask you for the folder. I want to save this to the root folder of our pipelines, and I'm giving the command as initial pipeline creation and clicking on save. Let us test if this build pipeline works or not. Here I'm clicking on queue, and here I want to go with the default settings and clicking on run over here. It will show you this kind of screen. Now if you click on this agent job, it will show you this screen. Now it is in the queued status. Now the job is running. It will take some time to complete the build. So let us monitor each step. So here it is checking out all the project code from the Git repository, and after that here it is running npm install where the packages will be installed inside the build server. Now the installation is completed. Now it is running npm build. Here the build task is also completed and it published the artifact. So here it is showing you the artifact location. So if you want to go to the artifact location, you can click over here or you can go back over here. You can find the artifacts over here. So here I'm clicking on this one published, and this is the location where the artifacts are available. I'm expanding this, and this is the project that we have built. And if I expand this, here we have all the files. Those are the outcome of the build process. If you want to see this pipeline and all the runs of this pipeline, you can go to this pipeline, and here it will show you all the pipelines inside your project. At present we have only one pipeline, so that is the reason it is showing only one pipeline. And if I click on this, it will show you all the runs related to this pipeline. At present the run is successful, so that's the reason it is showing the green tick mark over here. Otherwise it will show you the error symbol. Now let us do the deployment of the artifacts to the Azure Storage account manually. Here I have three storage accounts, and I want to use the first one for the production environment and the second one for the test environment. So I want to deploy the code to the test environment manually. So I am clicking on this, and first we have to enable the static website on the storage account. So if you scroll down over here, you can find the static website. Click on this, and after that here we have to enable this. So once this is done, here we have to mention the index document name. For Angular project, the index page will be index.html. So here I'm mentioning index.html. I'm clicking on save. We have to do some more configurations, and let us do them when we are creating the release pipelines. So if you go to the containers, it will create the $web container for the static website hosting. So I'm going inside, and here I'm clicking on upload. It will show you this pop-up, and here we have to choose the file. So from the dist folder, I'm choosing all the files, clicking on open and clicking on upload. So here all the files are uploaded. Now let us access this website. We can get the URL of this website from the static website of the storage account. So here I'm going to the storage account, and here we have the static website. I'm clicking on this, and here I'm copying the URL. Let us access the URL. So here I'm pasting the URL and clicked on enter. So it loaded the website. I'll show you the login using Azure AD also, but let us do that once after deploying it with the Azure release pipelines. Before we start with the release pipelines, let us enable static website inside the production storage accounts as well. So here I'm in the production storage account, and I'm going to the static website and clicking on enable. And here also the index document is index.html, clicking on save. When we deployed the application manually, the output files are there inside our local drive, so we upload it into the web container. But when we have to deploy it with the release pipelines, the artifacts will be there inside the build pipelines drop location. So here I'm clicking on the releases and clicking on new pipeline. Here I want to choose empty job. I want to name my stage as test. We are going to deploy our application to test and production stages, and in real time there can be many stages like SIT, QA and other stages as well. And first we'll configure the test stage, and once that is done we can clone this for the production. So first we have to link our artifacts. That means we have to link this release pipeline to a build pipeline. We have already created the build pipeline. So here I'm clicking on add, and here it will show you all the pipelines. So here the source should be Azure Tutorial CI that we have created before, and I want to go with the default settings, clicking on add. If you want to enable continuous deployment trigger, you can do that over here. Like once the build is successful, it will automatically trigger the deployments. So here you can enable this, and if you enable this pull request trigger, once the pull request is completed, automatically the build will be done and the deployment will also be done. I'm closing this. Now let us configure our test stage. So here, if I hover mouse on task, it is showing our test stage. Click on this, and here we have the agent job. Click on plus, and here we have to add few tasks. Before we deploy the code to any location, we have to clean that location and remove all the files. So we are going to deploy our code to the Azure Storage account. So we have to remove the files from the storage account $web location. So for that, we have to use Azure CLI task, and I'm choosing this, clicking on add. Here we have to configure the Azure Resource Manager connection. This Resource Manager connection will help Azure DevOps to manage the resources inside Azure. So here I'm choosing Azure subscription one, and here the script type should be PowerShell. And after that, here the script path. So if you have a script that is already there inside your artifacts, you can choose over here, but I want to go with inline script. And here we have to write the script. So here I'm writing az storage blob delete -batch -source. It should be $web. So if you have special characters inside your container, you have to use single quotes. And after that, here account -name, and account name should be this one. So here we are creating this pipeline for the test. So here I am changing this to test. Here we can use a variable as well, as we are going to copy this task for the production also, but I want to keep this simple. We can see the usage of variables later when I add file transform task. Let us change our pipeline name, Azure Tutorials -cd. CD means continuous deployment. Let us add one more task. And here I want to add file transform task. So here I'm searching for file transform and clicking on add. Let us give some meaningful name over here, Azure CLI -delete existing files, and this file's transform should be set config values. And this task is needed to transform a JSON file that is there inside our artifacts. Here inside our project assets folder, we have this config.json file, and here we have a API URL, and this URL will be changed across the environments. Like if it is a test environment, this URL will be different, and if it is a production environment, the URL will be different. So we have to make this as configurable. Angular provides a default way. Like if you go to the src folder, here we have environments, and in this environments we can create the environment name .ts files. Like if it is test environment .test.ts, and if it is qa environment .qa.ts. But if we go with that approach, we have to build the application multiple times using --prod -qa -test. And in real time, recommended way is we have to copy the same build, or we have to move the same build across the environment. If we choose this approach, we have to build it again and again. So that's the reason we are using this config files. In one of our projects, we have followed this approach, and that's the reason I am explaining the same over here. So here we have to transform this file when we are deploying this to the environment. So here I'm going to the pipeline, and here if you click on this bubble menu, it will open you the pop-up. This pop-up will show you the artifacts of the build pipeline, and here we have to choose the folder where that configuration file is located. So here we have the assets folder, and click on OK. Please note that for the local build, I haven't used that configuration file. So that's the reason the configuration or the asset folder itself is not available over here. But in real time, we'll follow that approach. Here we have to choose the file format as JSON and the target file is config.json. Now we have to declare a variable. I'm going to the variable section, clicking on add. Here we have to use this API base URL because when the pipeline is deploying the application, it will replace the value of this key with the value that we are going to give inside the variable. So here I'm giving a name for the variable, that is API base URL, and here I am giving some random URL because we don't have any backend API. So www test azure teach.net/API/. So here I gave test because we are using this for the test stage. So if you scroll over here, it will show you the scope. If you choose release scope, this will be applicable to all the stages, but we want this to be applicable to the test stage only. So here I'm choosing the test, and now go back to the tasks. So what will happen is when the release pipeline copying these files to the Azure Storage account, it will replace the API base URL with the value that we gave inside the variables part, and it will deploy the code. Now I'm going back to the tasks. Please note that I have used only one configuration value over here. If you want to use multiple configuration values, you can do that as well, but you have to create variables inside the release pipeline. Now let us add the final task, that is used to copy the files to the Azure Storage account. So here I'm searching for blob. Now we have to choose this file, click on add, and here I'm naming it copy files to blob storage. Now, if you click on this bubble menu, it will show you the artifact, and here we have to choose the files that we want to copy to the storage account. So I'm choosing this folder. I want to copy all these files to the storage account. I'm clicking on OK, and I want to all the contents from this folder. So I'm pressing a slash over here and a star. So it will copy all the contents from this Azure AD Angular demo folder. And here we have to choose the Azure subscription. I'm choosing Azure subscription one. And here the destination type, it should be Azure Blob. And here RM Azure Storage account. So here we are going to copy the code to the test environment. I'm selecting this. And here the container name should be $web. And that is all we have to do. I'm saving this. I'm clicking on OK. Now we have configured the test task successfully. Now go to the pipeline. Now, if you hover the mouse on the test task, it will show you the clone option. Click on clone, and here click on this, and I want to name this as prod. Here, if you see, we have a line. That means once the test is done, automatically the prod will be deployed. And if we want to prevent that, we can click on this pre-deployment condition. And here we have after stage. That means if test is completed, prod will be completed afterwards. And if we click on after release, once you start the release, both of these will be done. And if you choose manually, you have to manually trigger the deployment for this prod stage. If you want to put any approvals for the production stage, you can click on this, and here you can enable, and here you have to give the username. Generally, we give the manager's usernames over here, but for this demo, we don't have any post deployment conditions. So I'm disabling this and closing this pop-up. Now go to the task. You will see this prod task, and go to the variable section. And if you see here, we have two API based URLs, and the second one is pointing to the prod scope. So I'm modifying this. So here I'm removing this test. So this one is for the prod and this one is for the test. You will understand the use of these variables once we deploy the application to the storage account. Now go back to the prod task, and here we have to modify the storage account connection. So here we have to choose the prod storage account that we have created, and also inside this delete existing files, here also we have to give prod because we have two storage accounts. Now this pipeline creation is completed. Save this. One last thing that we have to do is we have to give permissions to this Azure Devops pipelines on the storage accounts that we have created. So go to the storage accounts, and now I'm going to the prod, and here we have to choose access control and add role assignment. We have to give owner role next, and also one more role also we have to give that I'll show you later. Here we have to select the members, and here search for the DevOps task that we have created. So as we have created Azure tutorials project, you can find something over here like this. So here if you see Azure teaching tutorial, this is my organization name and this is my pipeline name. So I'm choosing this, and you can get this information from here. Go to the project settings, and after that here we have the service connections, and inside this we have Azure subscription, and if you see here we have a ID, and we have to give permissions to the one which has this ID. So if you see here, this is the one that is having that particular ID. So I'm selecting this and clicking on review and assign, review and assign. Now again we have to give one more permission, clicking on add role assignment, and here I'm searching for storage blob data owner. I'm choosing this, clicking on next, and here select member. Again I have to search for the service principal that we have created, scroll down till the end and choose our service principal, click on select, review and assign, review and assign. We have to do the same for the test storage account. In interest of time, I'm pausing the video and doing that. I have completed the role assignment for the test storage account also. Here I'm on the release pipeline page, clicking on create release. And if you see, this is highlighted because this has automated trigger enabled. That means once you create the release, this deployment will be done automatically, and I want to do the prod deployment manually. Clicking on create, and the release is created. Click on this release link. And if you see here, the test deployment is queued. It will take some time for the deployment. Let us wait for some time and monitor the progress. Here the test deployment is done successfully. Let us verify inside the storage account. So if you go to the test storage account that we have created over here, go to the containers, and after that here inside $web container, if you see, the files have been deployed. If you go to the assets folder and open config.json, go to the edit. So here if you see, the API base URL have been replaced with this test-azure teach, but our actual code is having this local host. So that is the use of file transform task that we have added inside our release pipeline. So if you go here and here, or any of the tasks, so this task is transforming that JSON file and replacing the values from the variable section that we have added over here. Now let us do the prod deployment. Go to the pipelines again and go to the releases and go to the release 2, and here we have the prod. Deploy this, click on deploy, wait for some time until the prod release is done. Here the prod deployment is also completed. Here I'm inside the production storage account. I'm doing the refresh over here, and if you see, the files are copied. I'm going into the assets folder and opening this config.json, and this should have a different base URL. I'm clicking on edit, and if you see, we have a different URL over here. Now let us access both of these applications. So here I'm going to the prod one and go to the static website, copy the URL and paste it here. Click on the login button. It redirected to the Azure login page. Click on next. And here I'm entering the password. Click on sign in. Here the login is successful. I'm clicking on the profile tab. Here we are calling Azure Graph API. If you don't have any idea on creating this project or adding Azure AD to Angular project, I recommend watching you a video. I have explained the creation of this entire project in one of my videos. You can find that video by clicking the I symbol that is there at the top right corner of this video. Here I have accessed the test application, and if you see, the test application is also working. That is all in this demo. If you feel this video is helpful to you, please like the video and also subscribe to AzureTeach.net channel for more videos on Azure and .NET. Thank you.